Hey, it's James, and I'm in the NetNewsLedger studio with Vic Fedeli, one of the candidates running for the Ontario Progressive Conservative leadership. Vic, welcome.
It's always a pleasure to be in Thunder Bay, and it's a real pleasure to be here with you today, James.
What do our readers and viewers need to know? Where's the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario headed if you're the leader?
Well, you need to know a little bit about me then to tell you where we're going.
Please tell us.
So I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I'm born and raised in the city of North Bay. I'm a northern boy. I opened my first company when I was 16. I opened Fedeli Advertising when I was 21 years old. It was a one-man shop that grew into a large firm that did business all around the world. In 1989, my company was named in as one of the top 50 places to work in Canada. I sold the firm in 1992, ran a nonprofit for 3 different nonprofits for 11 years. One of them was the Air Base Property Corporation in North Bay that took over the assets of the closed Canadian Forces Base, brought Bombardier Aerospace to North Bay where they build their water bomber. Okay. And just a couple of months ago, they rolled their 50th water bomber off the assembly line, and I wrote the business plan that brought them to North Bay. I parlayed that into 2 terms as mayor of the city of North Bay, which I parlayed into 2 terms as an MPP for Nipissing.
So the only thing we haven't got, though, is that when you were in North Bay as mayor, we didn't get you to change the names so that no one confuses Thunder Bay and North Bay then.
Don't they confuse us all the time? Even to this very minute, they confuse us.
You go to Toronto and tell them you're from Thunder Bay, and they figure that you live with the polar bears.
Yeah, precisely.
It's always fun. How's the leadership campaign going?
Oh, I'm very happy with it, especially being in Northern Ontario. People I find in the 11 ridings in the north, out of the 107 ridings, they really want to see a northern person there. Somebody who's actually perhaps been north of Steeles Avenue, somebody who understands the north. In my marketing business, I represented many of the resource companies, both in the mining sector, the mineral sector, and in the logging and forestry sector. I got a prospector's license back in the 1970s. I still pan for gold today up in Temagami. I sit in a little stream with my sluice in the stream, and at my diggings, people like that. They like the fact that I'm an entrepreneur. They know that with the current financial picture in Ontario, we need a business person to take over the province of Ontario. And it happens to be somebody from the north as well. Well, that's even all the more better. So I find the campaign trail to be very exciting.
One of the big issues in northwestern Ontario, of course, has been the Ring of Fire. And we've watched the Ring of Fire go from 50,000 jobs being predicted to right now, where's it at?
Well, it's very depressing. I have been to the Ring of Fire 4 times now. I was there in 2011, 12, 13, and 14, and I'm heading up very shortly in 2015, very shortly for my 5th trip. I'll tell you, the first time I flew in there, it was so exciting. I'm flying in on the helicopter and I see these blue and white striped tents, and a big smile came over my face because they're made by Canadian Cantex, which was in my riding of Nipissing. As we got even closer, you see these mounds of drill rods. We have 12 manufacturers in my riding of Nipissing that manufacture drill rods and drill bits. So this was just spectacular. I talked to Noront, one of the companies who spent $200 million that summer doing exploration. And as you know, Cliffs has spent over the last decade $700 million. So the last time I was there, Cliffs was actually packing up their camp and moving out. From the first time I was there with, you see about 250, maybe more, 300 people actively working. Today there may be 4 to 6 people left on the site. It's a tremendous embarrassment for our province.
What can be done about it?
Well, we need to know where we are, and what I've seen so far from the Liberal government is a lot of announcements and re-announcements of the same announcement, a development corporation with 4 bureaucrats, no First Nations, no business people. All right, we know how bad it is. Nothing's happened in 8 years. If I'm elected Premier of the province of Ontario, I'm going to do 2 things, and both Noront and KWG are well aware. In fact, I met with them earlier today. They're both well aware of what I want to do. I think the quick action is with Noront in what we call the east-west route. And it builds a road from Webequie, from the Ring of Fire to Webequie, and then the winter road from Webequay down towards Pickle Lake, we would make an all-season road. And we can get the nickel out of the ground. Noront wants to get the nickel out of the ground. It's a quick play. It's a lot of work, and it's still hard and complicated, but it's the low-hanging fruit. I want to get after that immediately while we contemplate the longer play to get the chromite out of the ground and shipped to market through a north-south rail line with Ontario Northland. That's what will happen when I become Premier of Ontario.
Now, heading across the province, what kind of words and messages are you hearing from the people? You're headed off into Dryden, Kenora for the rest of the week?
Yes, and then all the legislature, all three parties meet in Fort Francis, where we kick off the pre-budget consultations. So when we were picking the 6 communities in Ontario, I suggested Fort Francis. I think it's an important place to be. There's a lot of things happening in terms of economic development in Fort Francis, and the closure of the mill being the prime one. So we start in Fort Francis. So what we're hearing right across, I'll go back 12 months ago when we did the pre-budget consultations. We were here in Thunder Bay.
Yes.
We heard in every one of the 6 cities exactly the same thing, whether it was the food bank or the social planning council or the biggest industry in town. Number one issue, skyrocketing energy rates.
Yep.
This week, I expect, no matter whether it's the Social Planning Council or the Food Bank or the number one industry in town, I expect the number one issue to be skyrocketing energy rates. Nothing's been done about it in the last 12 months, and there's no plan other than increasing hydro rates in Ontario.
So there's a lot to be done. When is the leadership race? When's the convention?
We have sort of a twofold approach. Number one, you need to have a membership by February 28th. That's the cutoff date for members. Without a membership, you cannot vote. You vote in the advance poll in your riding May 3rd.
Okay.
The actual voting day is May 7th. And on May 9th, Saturday, May 9th, the leader is announced. So we don't have a delegated convention. It's more of it'll be a little bit more of a boring approach in terms of the fact that the leader is decided before the convention.
Okay.
So everybody gets a ballot, and you mark your first, your second, and your third choice on the one ballot. And so when they're counted, if nobody's received more than 50%, the bottom person knocks off. Their ballots are looked at again, and they go to who their second choice was. Okay. So it's a complicated, but every member gets one vote, and you vote in your own home riding. You don't have to go to the convention in Toronto.
So for people who want to find out more about Vic Fedeli, where do they go?
Very simple, OntarioFirst.ca. And you'll find out my biography, the history, my plans, my launch speech, a lot about the Ring of Fire, because that is a passion of mine. So it's OntarioFirst.ca, because I really want to aspire to make Ontario first in everything we do.
Ontario deserves it. Vic, thanks for coming in.
James, a true pleasure.
Thank you.